Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Islamic tradition emphasizes themes of mercy, compassion, generosity, merits and virtues that every single one of us should aspire to on a day-to-day basis. And few individuals utilize their talents and their abilities to really manifest the meaning of service to humanity, like our next awardee. Hana Dehradunwala is a Pakistani-American Muslim and the co-founder and CEO of Transformation, a logistics company focused on building tech-based integrated food rescue systems for cities. She co-founded Transformation during her sophomore year at New York University, as it quickly developed into a fully functioning service during her junior and senior year. Transformation became her first full-time job post-graduation. She went on to spearhead its expansion in New York City. The work that she has been doing has been both challenging and incredibly rewarding, and for it she was recognized by L'Oreal Paris as one of their Women of Worth honorees in 2018, New York University's inaugural list of alumni changemakers, and the Jefferson Awards Foundation. Her work has been profiled by the Huffington Post, USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, and Martha Stewart, amongst others. But more importantly, they've been able to partner with national corporate food providers and the sharing economy to create an on-demand food redistribution system with a 100% diversion rate. Her goal in this space is not only to change the way that food rescue is carried out in cities globally, but to rethink the way that we approach, build, and scale charitable services. So I'd like to invite to the stage our Innovative Excellence Awardee, Hana Dehradunwala.
So what I do sounds kind of boring, but I'm going to explain it to you so that it's a little more interesting. So it's bizarre to be here. It's strange to think that I graduated a few years ago with a degree from NYU, and now I'm in the business of collecting other people's garbage. Like, my parents are very happy about it. I'm sure they're very proud. But when we started, I started when I was 21, so things were a bit different back then. For starters, I was blonde, because no one told me it wasn't my color. And thank God. I feel like we all go through that phase where we dye our hair strange colors and realize later. Yes, I'm getting a yes from here. But Transformation was also a very different type of food redistribution initiative. So we worked like any other traditional food rescue service. We had volunteers, they had their carts. When we'd get calls from restaurants, we'd try and find one, we'd send them. It was a very small, very cute operation that I did while I was in school. And when people ask me, oh, why do you do the work? I tried to rack my brain to think of the most dramatic story. So I would, because working in the hunger space, I felt like I had to have one. And so it was something like, oh, when I was 11, I moved from the US to Pakistan, and I saw hunger all around me, and it was outside the window, like the rolled up window of my car. And as the air conditioning blew on me, I thought about them. But like, to be completely real, I wasn't affected by hunger. I'd never experienced hunger in my life. The people I know have never experienced hunger in their lives. What I was affected by was the waste issue. That was something that I did a lot of. Like, how many times have we been to an event or a holiday party, a corporate cafeteria, and there's been tons of food on the tables, the buffets, and we've just wondered what's happening to it. Like, how many of us have? Yes, once I did that and no one raised their hands, and it was horrible. I think they were lying. They were just a tough crowd. But yeah, and that isn't anyone's fault. Food donation is incredibly difficult. Like, when you think about it, it's like, where can I take this? Is it at the right temperature? Where are the closest shelters? Like, will it spill if I put it in an Uber? What is a shelter? Like, these are all really good questions, and they're very difficult to answer. And who wants to stay back till 1 a.m. figuring out what to do with the extra food? It's so much easier to just put it in the trash or put it in your fridge. But if you have my fridge, it won't fit, and so you really have to put it in the trash anyway. But at the end of the day, it wasn't guilt that made me want to do it. It was more I was frustrated with it. It's so stupid that we live in a world where everything is on demand. You can request a dog walker on demand, which I think is ridiculous. Great for people with dogs, but I don't have a dog. But like, but if you have extra food and you want to donate it and it's good food, it's the most difficult thing in the world to do. And so when we started building this, I wanted to see if Transformation could be built like a consumer service, like Uber. And so when I graduated, I decided to do this full time because I wanted to torture myself. But not funny, got it. But so it took a while to build it into what it is now, but I wanted to see if Transformation could become as easy, efficient, and technologically advanced as an Uber-type product or service. And so what we did was, instead of using volunteers, we partnered with the sharing economy. So we partnered with Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, drivers that were already carrying catering, and paid them to do this job. And in the beginning, the transition was really difficult. We had 8 clients, and 4 of them dropped because they didn't want to pay for it anymore. But it's fine because they all came back. But at the time, we wanted to see if Transformation could be built like this, because I think that the reason why food waste is still such a huge problem, and regardless of all of the city harvests that we have, they're fantastic, but I don't think it's going to solve food waste just because of the way that it's structured. And so instead of using free labor, we use paid drivers. Shelters now get access to hundreds of pounds of very high quality catered food, and clients get to access a service that's on demand. So to give you a sense of how it works, we have an app that works exactly like Uber. If you're hosting an event, or you're at a corporate cafeteria, or you're hosting a holiday party, you can schedule an on-demand pickup, and someone will be there within the time frame that you requested the pickup to take it to a shelter. So it's great because we get to give hot, amazing food to people who would never have the opportunity to eat like that otherwise. So the transition, as I mentioned, was difficult at the time, but I think it was really necessary, because when we think of charity and charitable services, we often don't think of something that we have to pay for. We think of something that someone is doing out of the goodness of their heart. But I feel like it causes us to overlook a really real economic reality, and that is that regardless of the work, people need to be paid. Like, volunteering is a privilege that a lot of us can't afford to take out in the middle of the day. If I have a full-time job and I want to do good, like, I can't leave my job to volunteer. And I feel like the way that we think of charity, the way that we think of so many things, we become very hardened in our beliefs when it comes to religion or charity or culture. And we think that because we have an idea of how something should be, it needs to stay like that. But there's still so much left to be discovered, and I feel like that's what we ended up doing with Transformation, is that we took this problem that is food waste and the traditional food rescue methods that we use, and sort of thought about it in a way where I want this to work if I step back from it. Like, how can I make this work even if I'm not here? Like, if I choose to move back to Pakistan, which I don't think I will now, but who here is from Pakistan? Woo! Okay. Sorry. So, basically, I believe with Transformation that unless we learn to value and respect and recognize another person's hard labor, we will never be truly charitable. Regardless of the amount that we donate, regardless of the way that we think of charity, if we don't respect other people's work, even if it's paid, we cannot be charitable. And we will never solve problems like waste if we continue to rely on another person's goodwill to do it. Like, social problems aren't solved because we're feeling charitable on a certain day. I feel like we have our regular lives, and then occasionally on a Saturday, when our mothers force us, we go volunteer at a soup kitchen, or we'll do something good. But in order to solve issues that are constantly being created, like I bet in a 1-mile radius, there's at least 10 of these events going on. And there's 10 buffets that are going to be left completely untouched. And no one's going to be able to pick up from them. And that's because we haven't built systems around charity. Like, charity needs to be a system. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to achieve with this. That's what I'm trying to do with the food waste problem. I think at the end of the day, what I love about what we do is that we're closing the access gap. So just because you come from a particular economic background and you have to go to shelters to eat, it doesn't mean that you should be denied access to certain kinds of food. Like, it feels really good that now we're able to take lobsters to shelters. Like, we did have an order of like 35 once that we took to a shelter, and they were like, we don't know how to eat this. And I'm like, well, I don't know either, but it's yours. Like, I've actually never eaten a full lobster in my life. But yeah. And I think it's really powerful that now, like, in our own way, we're bringing people from drastically different walks of life to the same plate. To the same food that, like, an executive was eating an hour ago is now being eaten by someone who would have never been able to afford that meal. And it comes to them still hot, which is great. Like, it makes you feel worth something. It's dignified, like, to be able to eat like that. And I think in our own small way, like, what we're doing is pretty powerful. And thank you for the award. This is very exciting, and it's nice to be recognized for it.